Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. When calls the heart, Hardys livid over historical inaccuracies. Hallmark's long-running series When Calls the Heart has started production on season 13. However, that does not seem to be what Hardys want to talk about on social media. Here is the latest of a string of historical inaccuracies that these fans have pointed out. This goes from Little Jack's diabetes to failing to mention Abudaville. What is upsetting these superfans now? When Calls the Heart fans enjoy talking about the series on social media. However, the repeated topic has been about historical accuracy. In a post that was titled, "What's Up with the Lashes? Did a rewatch to catch up and just started 12 today. What's happening with the lashes? I love how they gently shift the wardrobe towards 1920s America. But the lashes and eyebrows? OMG, they throw me off and I hate that. This is supposed to be my guilty pleasure show." There were a few varied responses. Here is what other Hardys had to say. "Just ignore it. I had to when the entire town had perfectly curled hair pre the salon on a regular day. I think the hair and makeup has always been historically inaccurate on this show. I'm so used to it that I don't pay attention to that anymore. Changes have been happening rapidly. They went from being pretty close to accurate with the bad wigs and modesty to something polar opposite now. Many fans just grin and bear it. They advise the poster to not allow this to upset them. However, several sources state that mascara was available during this time. Would school teachers wear makeup? It seems doubtful as she lives in a rural community. But women did wear makeup during this era. When Calls the Heart season 13 starts production on July 1. However, according to the show's costume designer, Barbara Gregasova, who went on Instagram, several cast members have already come in for costumer fittings. For example, last year Andrea Brooks was pregnant. As with others who came in to get fitted, she has a rack just for her wardrobe. This year, she is able to pick from her pre-pregnancy wardrobe. The costume designer may need to make some changes to fit with the 20s themed workshops. This means that her skirts can go up to fit the 1920s era that Hope Valley is in now. This also means new shoes and a new hairstyle. Gregasova will be looking for certain colors for the leads to wear. It also means that her wardrobe may need some freshening up with a few new pieces. While the series may not be historically accurate, the costumes help Hardys feel the spirit of the era. When Calls the Heart season 13 will premiere on the Hallmark channel sometime in 2026. Hardys, do you have the same gripes as these posters? Do you get bothered with historical inaccuracies? Hardys, as the devoted fanbase of When Calls the Heart is affectionately known, are renowned for their undying loyalty. They passionately supported the Hallmark Channel drama through cast shakeups, plot twists, and even a global pandemic that threatened production. But recently that love has turned into fiery frustration as social media lit up with one recurring complaint. Historical inaccuracies are driving fans up the wall. For a series set in the early 20th century, When Calls the Heart has always balanced romance with small-town values, sprinkled with touches of Canadian frontier realism. At least that's what fans thought. But as season 12 rolls on, more viewers are asking the same question. What era is this supposed to be, exactly? The spark that ignited the debate. The controversy began innocently enough when an eagle-eyed fan paused an episode and noticed something jarringly out of place. A character using a modern stainless steel thermos emblazoned with a logo that wouldn't exist until the 1970s. Within hours, fan pages were flooded with screenshots and hashtags like #HardysFactCheck and #BringBackHistoricalAccuracy. "This show used to make me feel like I was stepping back in time," wrote one fan on Facebook. "But now, between the hairstyles, the props, and even the slang, it's like we're in some kind of steampunk universe instead of 1917 Canada." Another fan chimed in on Twitter. "Elizabeth Thornton rocking beach waves and subtle highlights? In a coal mining town during World War I. Please. Modern makeup and perfect wardrobes. Fans have long accepted a bit of creative license when it comes to historical dramas. But some argue the show has taken things too far lately. "Every woman looks like she stepped out of a 2025 salon," said Angela P., a fan since the pilot. "Perfect eyeliner wings, glossy lips, and not a hair out of place. Where's the authenticity? Where's the grit?" The wardrobe department hasn't been spared criticism either. One viral TikTok video, which has racked up 1.2 million views, points out a scene where a character's coat looks suspiciously like a fast fashion brand's current winter collection. "I literally bought that same coat last month," said the creator of the TikTok. Not exactly something you'd expect from 1910's Hope Valley. The technology blunders. Harveys were also quick to note anachronistic technology popping up around Hope Valley. In one scene, Nathan Grant is shown using a flashlight that, according to enthusiasts, wasn't commonly available in rural Canada until at least a decade later. Then there's the infamous phone call incident from earlier this season. Elizabeth picks up the phone and has a casual long-distance chat, like she's calling her sister across the country. One Reddit user wrote, "Except Hope Valley just got a single switchboard in Season 8. Now it's like they're operating a nationwide telecom company." Even smaller details haven't escaped scrutiny. Typewriters too modern for the time, motor vehicles that should not yet exist in the region, and even a radio playing in the background that would have been decades too advanced. Writers defend the creative choices. Showrunner John Tinker has responded to the growing criticism, telling fans, "We always aim for authenticity, but sometimes to serve the story and keep things visually appealing, we make certain concessions." He added, "Our focus has always been on heart and relationships, more than textbook historical reenactment." That explanation didn't sit well with many fans. "That's just lazy," commented one viewer on Instagram. "Part of why we fell in love with When Calls the Heart is the attention to detail. If I wanted a modern soap opera, I'd watch one." Another fan countered with empathy, "Look, it's TV. Sometimes you have to bend history for drama or aesthetic. It's not a documentary." But even that defense sparked arguments within the fandom, with longtime Hardys accusing newcomers of ruining what made the show special. Romance over history. Some fans argue that the historical inaccuracies are simply a symptom of a broader shift in focus. When the show first aired, it balanced educational glimpses of frontier life with romance and community values. Now some say it feels more like a glossy romance series with a vaguely historical backdrop. Season 1 gave us coal mine tragedies, mail-order school supplies, and the hardship of frontier life, said Thomas, a 67-year-old fan from Alberta. Season 12 gave us Elizabeth in a designer-looking dress, drinking a latte, talking about following your dreams. Where's the history? A particularly heated debate emerged after a recent episode in which Lucas Bouchard hosted a wine and cheese evening featuring varieties that would have been virtually impossible to source in a remote Canadian town of that era. "It looked like a Napa Valley tasting room," said one comment on a fan podcast. Did Lucas also invent DoorDash?